It was a rainy afternoon when the clinic doors creaked open and a scene no one expected unfolded. A tiny, drenched puppy stumbled forward, dragging behind it a heavy cloth bag nearly twice its size. Struggling, panting, yet determined, the little one stopped right at the veterinarian's feet. At first glance, it looked like just another hungry stray, but then the bag twitched. What the vet discovered inside broke his heart, shocked everyone watching, and revealed the unimaginable loyalty of one small dog. Before we start, make sure to hit like, share, and subscribe. And really, I'm curious, where are you watching from? Drop your country name in the comments. I love seeing how far our stories travel. The day had started like any other at the small veterinary clinic. Dr. Harris, a kind-hearted vet, was finishing his morning rounds, checking on recovering animals. Outside, the rain tapped lightly against the windows, the street nearly empty. But as he stepped out to lock the side gate, a strange sound caught his ear. He turned and froze. A tiny puppy was staggering toward him, soaked from the rain, its little paws slipping on the wet pavement. But this wasn't just any stray wandering by. The puppy was dragging something heavy behind it. Its body shook with exhaustion, but determination burned in its eyes. The wet cloth bag scraped across the ground, far too big for such a small creature to carry. Passers-by slowed, whispering, unsure of what they were seeing. Dr. Harris crouched low, his white coat brushing the puddled ground, his eyes wide with concern. The puppy stopped right in front of him, lifted its front paws together as if in prayer, and let out a soft whimper. The sight pierced his heart. This wasn't a stray begging for food. This little one was pleading for help. And the bag it dragged, whatever was inside, was the reason why. Dr. Harris's heart pounded as he glanced from the puppy's pleading eyes to the heavy bag it dragged. The fabric was old, stained, and knotted tightly at the top. The little dog nudged it with its nose, whining, then looked back at him with a desperation that left no room for doubt. This wasn't random. The puppy had carried the bag here for a reason. But what could be inside something so heavy for such a tiny creature? Kneeling on the wet pavement, Dr. Harris reached out cautiously, his fingers brushing the damp cloth. The bag twitched ever so slightly. His breath caught. He pulled his hand back, eyes wide. It wasn't just heavy, it was moving. The bystanders gasped, their whispers rising with suspense. One woman clutched her chest, murmuring, "Dear God, there's something alive in there." The puppy barked sharply, pressing its paws together again, urging him to act quickly. Dr. Harris swallowed hard, his instincts torn between caution and urgency. He had opened crates of injured strays, treated animals in horrific conditions, but this was different. It was as if the puppy knew time was slipping away. He lifted the bag carefully into his arms, the weight pressing against him, and hurried toward the clinic. Inside, under the sterile glow of the lights, the truth of what the puppy had carried was about to be revealed. Inside the clinic, Dr. Harris placed the soaked, knotted bag gently on the examination table. The puppy scrambled onto a chair, its eyes locked on him, whimpering anxiously as if begging him to hurry. His hands trembled as he pulled at the knot, loosening the fabric with careful urgency. When the bag opened, silence filled the room. Nestled inside was another puppy, smaller, weaker, barely breathing. Its tiny chest rose and fell in shallow, uneven gasps, each breath a fragile fight against the inevitable. The little body was wet, cold, and frighteningly still. The watching crowd gasped in collective horror. Dr. Harris quickly reached inside, lifting the frail pup into his arms. Its fur clung to his hands, sticky with rain and dirt, its head lolling weakly. "Oh no," he whispered under his breath. He pressed his stethoscope against its chest, listening desperately for the faint rhythm of life within. The first puppy yelped sharply, pawing at the table, as if pleading with him not to give up. Its eyes shimmered with tears, its tiny frame shaking with emotion. The bond between the two was undeniable. One had risked everything to drag its sibling to safety, refusing to abandon it to fate. Tears welled in Dr. Harris's eyes. He had treated countless animals, but this act of loyalty, this desperate fight of one small puppy for another, pierced him deeper than anything before. "Don't worry, little one," he whispered. "We'll fight for both of you now." Dr. Harris sprang into action, signaling his assistants to prepare the emergency table. Warm blankets, oxygen now," he ordered, his voice sharp with urgency. The weaker puppy was laid gently on his soft towels, its tiny body trembling as though caught between life and death. The first puppy paced anxiously beside the table, its eyes fixed on its sibling, letting out heartbreaking cries that filled the sterile room with raw desperation. Everyone present felt the weight of the moment. The staff worked quickly, rubbing the fragile pup with warm cloths to stimulate blood flow. A syringe of fluids was prepared, and a heat lamp was lowered over the tiny body. Dr. Harris listened again with his stethoscope, this time catching the faintest, irregular heartbeat. "Still with us," he breathed, fighting back emotion. The puppy's tiny chest fluttered, each breath shallow, fragile, but refusing to stop. Against all odds, there was still hope. Word spread quickly through the waiting area, and soon villagers pressed against the clinic's windows, whispering prayers for the tiny life inside. Some wiped away tears. Others clasped their hands together as if urging fate itself to show mercy. The stronger puppy never left its sibling's side, paw resting lightly on the edge of the table, as if lending strength. Dr. Harris looked at it, his heart heavy with admiration. "You brought your family here to save them," he whispered. "Now, it's our turn to do the rest." Hours passed in tense silence, but finally, signs of hope began to appear. The weaker puppy stirred under the glow of the heat lamp, its faint whimpers breaking the hush of the clinic. Dr. Harris smiled for the first time that day. "That's it, little one. Keep fighting." The stronger puppy wagged its tail weakly, pressing closer to the table, as if it understood that its mission wasn't in vain. Relief rippled through the staff, but their work wasn't over. As the vet cleaned the pups more thoroughly, grim details surfaced. Beneath their matted fur were scars and raw patches, evidence of neglect, perhaps even abandonment. A hush fell over the room as the reality sank in. Someone had tied the weaker puppy inside the bag, leaving it to die, while the sibling dragged it across streets in desperate search of mercy. Outrage and sorrow clouded every face. Humanity had failed them, but loyalty had not. Villagers who had gathered outside the clinic listened in stunned silence as Dr. Harris shared the discovery. Some shook their heads in disbelief. Others muttered angrily about the cruelty. Yet many stepped forward, offering blankets, food, and even donations to cover the treatment. "We can't change what was done," one woman said tearfully, "but we can give them a better tomorrow." And in that moment, the puppy's pain began transforming into a story of resilience, community, and love. Weeks passed, and the once frail puppies transformed before everyone's eyes. The weaker pup, who had clung to life so desperately, now wagged its tail with newfound energy, chasing after its devoted sibling. The stronger puppy never left its side, always nudging, protecting, and guiding, just as it had on that rainy day. Dr. Harris and his staff watched with quiet pride, knowing they had not only saved lives, but witnessed an unbreakable bond born out of love and sacrifice. The village embraced the puppies as their own. Families brought toys, treats, and soft blankets. Children came daily to visit, their laughter echoing through the clinic as the puppies played. To everyone, these dogs were more than rescues. They were symbols of hope, living proof that compassion could heal even the deepest wounds. The story spread beyond the village, inspiring countless others who heard about the little hero that dragged a bag to save its sibling. When the puppies were finally strong enough to leave, the villagers held a small gathering outside the clinic. Dr. Harris cradled them one last time, smiling through tears. "You reminded us all what love looks like," he whispered. The stronger pup barked happily, the weaker one snuggled close. Together, they had turned heartbreak into hope. And as they bounded into their new forever home, tails wagging, the community knew this wasn't just the end of a rescue. It was the beginning of a legacy of love.